Good morning. How are you guys? Yeah, welcome to Wednesday. Yay. My name's Summer Shine, as she said, and that is my real name. A lot of people ask me, like, is that a stage name or whatever? It's not. I was born October 27th, 1978 with the name Summer Shine. Do not do the math on that. I'm still 30-ish. Anyway, I'm really grateful to be here this morning. I get really nervous when I'm talking to people of y'all's age group because y'all are so cool and so good looking. I mean, look at you guys. You look great. Right? Hair toss. No, I get super nervous because junior high and high school were really rough for me. You know, I started drinking when I was 12 years old. I had a couple of older sisters. They were my stepsisters, and when my dad got remarried, I thought they were like the coolest chicks in the whole world, and I wanted to be a lot like them. And so I started drinking with them when I was really, really young. And I drank with them because I wanted to be like them, and I wanted to be a part of the group. You know, I wanted to be a part of this family that I thought that they embodied. And I realized pretty quickly that the thing that I was using to be a part of, made me apart from. Because I noticed whenever I got into high school and started drinking with friends and using drugs with friends that I drank differently from everyone around me and I used differently from everyone around me. Some of my friends would have a couple of beers or a couple of glasses of wine or a couple of shots and their lips would start to tingle and they'd be like, I'm done. And then I would drink until I passed out or threw up or embarrassed somebody or tripped down the stairs and the face planted. I was always like that girl, you know, at the party. And so I quit being cool pretty quickly. And my consequences started showing up pretty quickly too. How many of you guys are in 7th grade? Can I get a show of hands? Yeah. I got expelled from 7th grade for bringing vodka to school and getting drunk with a couple of my friends beforehand. Can you guys imagine any of these guys over here bringing vodka to school? Have any of you 7th grade? One guy back there is like, yeah, this guy. Can I get a show of hands of all the 7th graders that have brought vodka to school? Okay, great, good. Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, so I literally got kicked out of 7th grade. I wasn't allowed to go to that school district anymore. They kicked me out for the whole rest of the year. It was like, there was like 7 more months of school yet. School left, and I was forced to homeschool for the rest of that year, which was miserable. I did not like homeschool. It's a whole different thing now. Homeschool's kind of cool now, but back then it was not cool. And that was in 7th grade, you know, so the thing that I thought was helping me to make friends was really just making me apart from everybody else. I wanted to be part of something cool, but it was not cool to be expelled from school. When I got back to school, I thought people were going to be like, oh, hey, cool that you got expelled from school, and nobody was like that. People weren't allowed to stay the night at my house and weren't allowed to hang out with me outside of school, so it was really kind of a devastating thing. And then when I got into high school, other things started to come into play. You know, lots of people smoked, well, not lots of people, some people smoked weed in my school, and I started running with a crowd of people that would pretty much try anything, ecstasy and weed, and we smoked cigarettes out back. I think you guys vape now. I'm supposed to mention that to anybody in here vape? No? I didn't think so. I didn't think you guys vaped. Back in the day, we had cigarettes that you had to light with a lighter, so, but it's all kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? It's all this kind of distraction from what was really going on in my life. And I had a pretty tough childhood as far as a home life, but I realized in my later years, like after I had moved out of my house and didn't have to deal with those kind of things anymore, that I was kind of using my childhood as an excuse to continue with this behavior that was just destructive. So whenever I turned 19, I should say this, I missed a lot of school as a teenager, either because I was intentionally choosing to skip school or because my parents were putting me in rehab. I think I went to 10 rehab facilities between the age of 14 and the age of 17. The last time they could send me to treatment was when I was 16 years old. I turned 17 in a long-term treatment facility. And then at 17, I was able to move out. So I did that. And I moved out and spent a couple of years just kind of couch surfing and living from place to place. And I got pregnant whenever I was 19. Or I got pregnant when I was 18 and had my son whenever I was 19 years old. And so any idea, ideal that I had that I was going to go to college and get a degree and do something really great with my life kind of went out the window whenever you're having to work every day to buy diapers and formula and stuff like that. Right after I had my son, I was able to stay sober while I was pregnant, but right after I had my son, I started drinking and using again. And the way that I drank and used, like I said, was very different from the way other people did. And so then I had this newborn that I was too drunk to care for or too high to care for. And it became the first time in my life that I decided I didn't want to live that way anymore. And so I checked myself in when my son turned 6 months old. The day he turned 6 months old, we checked ourselves into a family treatment facility in Austin. That was a 6-month program. He turned 6 months old there, and he turned 1 year old the day that I graduated from that program. And I thought for sure, because I had a desire to stay sober for somebody else, that would be the last time that I ever drank and used. And I wish that I could stand up here and tell you that my son never saw me drunk and that my son never saw me high, but that was just the beginning of a long-term struggle with drugs and alcohol. You know, I'd say this a lot. The first time my mom sent me to treatment, I was 15 years old. The first time that I wanted to get sober, for real, wanted to quit on my own, I was 19 when I had my son, and I didn't get sober until I was 35. So that's a long history, 20 years of struggle with drugs and alcohol, right? To struggle with addiction. And I don't say that to scare you. I'm not up here today to scare you straight, even though I wish I could. I wish that I could save just one of you from having to go through the struggles that I had to go through, but statistically 10% of you are going to struggle with drugs and alcohol. And so what I'm here to do today is to give hope. So, and also to tell you that when I was your age and I was sitting in the seats that you guys are sitting in today, and there would be people that would come into our school and do the whole DARE program and just say no. You know, I kind of would look at them and roll my eyes and think, that's not me though. That's not me. And so I can continue to drink and I can continue to use the way that I do. And I really thought, you know, and I've talked to people too who, like, my sister smokes. She's almost 50, and she smokes, and she has always smoked. And when she was y'all's age, she thought that smoking was a thing that she would just put down when she outgrew it. You know, that when it didn't serve her well anymore, she would quit smoking. And I thought the same thing about drugs and alcohol. I thought whenever I decide that I want to stop, I'm going to. And so all of these assemblies that we have are just kind of pointless because that doesn't pertain to me. But the fact of the matter is, this will pertain to some of you. It won't pertain to all of you, but it will pertain to at least 10% of you guys will have a struggle with drugs and alcohol. And you may not think that it's your card is up. You may not think that you're the person that can't handle drugs and alcohol, but you may be, and it's a struggle. It is a hard battle to fight. And so, like I said, I'm here to give hope. I don't want to be a bummer today. But if you find yourself already having that tug of war with either tobacco or drugs and alcohol, please seek help now. You know, my mom started getting me help when I was 15 years old, and it took me 20 years, you know, so. About 6 years ago, I wound up in the darkest place I'd ever been in my life. I was homeless. I didn't have any friends. Like, I didn't know anybody's real name, you know? People go by things like Red and J-Rock and T-Bone and stuff on the streets, the hard streets of Waco. So I didn't know it. I didn't have any real friends. Nobody, my mom was like planning my funeral, you know? She thought I was going to die at any day. My son would not answer my phone calls. He had actually moved out of my house on his own. He had chosen to move out. Not like somebody came and picked him up because I was drinking and using so much. Like, he called me one day and said, hey, I'm moving out, you know, basically because you suck as a parent. So he moved out. My husband had filed for divorce. You know, I didn't have anything really. And I didn't want to live that way anymore. You know, it had gotten to the point where the pain exceeded the pleasure. That had happened a long time ago. Drugs didn't work for me anymore, and drinking didn't work for me anymore. And I was sad and lonely and didn't want to live like that. And so I was in New Orleans, and somebody called me up while I was there and said, hey, do you want to come back home to Texas? And I thought to myself, this is it. I either am going to do this one last time, or I'm going to end up dying out here. I'm going to end up dying in New Orleans. They're going to throw me in the swamp, you know, because that's what they do in New Orleans. It's shady down there. A lot of mob bosses in New Orleans, okay? So I really thought they were going to feed me to the fishes. So I decided that I would give it one last chance. And I kind of bargained with God, you know. I just kind of said, okay, God, this is between me and you now, dude. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try to get this life right, so help me. Here I am. So I came back to Texas, and I got some treatment. I went to a really cool place in South Texas that was actually destroyed by Hurricane Harvey, so it doesn't exist anymore. But I went to a really cool place in South Texas and was able to get treatment down there. And it was beautiful. It was a really cool time. And while I was down there, part of the program that they have is that they help women who are in recovery from drugs and alcohol start businesses. So one morning, I was like, I'm the kind of person, I don't know if anybody else is really extreme like this. If you are, you might want to see me after the assembly. But I'm either super unhealthy, like eating crappy food and smoking a bunch of weed and doing a bunch of drugs and drinking, or I'm super healthy and eating salads every day for lunch and smoothies for breakfast and exercising every day. I'm like a really extreme person. It's one or the other for me. And so I'm in treatment every morning, making myself like fruit smoothies with kale and packing my salad for lunch and cooking dinner every night. And one of the ladies came downstairs and she said, you know, I think it's ridiculous how just a few weeks ago you were smoking a bunch of crack and now you're down here making smoothies for yourself like you're some health guru. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous as well. But I saw what she was saying. I saw what she was getting at. And she had started a business while she lived there selling salsa. Her name's Stella, and she has Stella's Sassy Salsa. And she said, you should turn this into a business. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And so whenever I had 6 months sober from drugs and alcohol, I started Luna Juice Bar. Do any of y'all know what Luna Juice Bar is?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah? Oh, okay. The light bulb just came on for this guy. I'm so happy. So y'all all know, I guess some of you have heard what Luna Juice Bar is. And I started Luna Juice in the kitchen, quite literally in the kitchen at my house. And I bought a juicer. I had a juicer and a dream. Literally, all I had the money for was this one juicer that was a cold press juicer. It was the only thing I could afford. And I started making juice and taking it to the farmer's market. And pretty soon, it started becoming a bigger and better business. You know, I was able to go in front of the Shark Tank at that, not the real Shark Tank, I wish. But I went in front of what they called the Shark Tank at that facility, at that treatment facility, and they gave me a microloan. So a microloan is a small loan to help somebody start a business that will eventually turn into something bigger, right? And it's a low interest loan, and it's little, so that if the bank loses all their money, they're not out that much. But they gave me a $5,000 loan, and I had 18 months to pay it off, and I paid it off in 16 months. And kind of, the rest is history, right? If you guys know anything about Luna Juice, we were the first food truck that was asked to park out of Magnolia Silos. May not seem like a big deal to you guys, but whenever Joanna Gaines calls you up on the phone and is like, hey, can you have a food truck out here? You're like, yes, ma'am, I can. And at the time, all we had was like a tent, It was like, wow, we need a food truck. But there were some people in the community that believed in me and believed that I could make this thing work. And so some of my friends got together and helped me buy a food truck. Of course, we went out there. Magnolia Silos opened in October of 2015, and it started raining the day that it opened, and it rained all the way till January of the next year. And nobody comes to food trucks when it's raining, right? Do any of you guys go to food trucks when it's raining? No, especially not food trucks that sell smoothies, right? So nobody came to the food truck. I mean, nobody came to the food truck for like 4 months, and I thought, this is it, close us down, we're not going to be able to make it. And then the spring came around. And people wanted smoothies and juices. And then during the summer of that year, I had this brilliant idea, truly one of my finer moments in life. And I saw a little personal watermelon at HEB. It was this big. And I thought, I wonder if we could just knock a hole in that thing and blend it up and sell it out the window. And we did. And that year, we went so in 2015, we made $20,000 all year long. We sold $20,000 worth of product. And in 2016, we sold $500,000 worth of product. So we increased our sales by a lot. Thank you, personal watermelons. It was like I said, one of my finer moments in life. And then we just increased from then. Fixer Uppers, great show. People really love it. And so we get lots of traffic down to the silos. About a year and a half ago, we were able to open a storefront location on Austin Avenue. So if you guys want to come down to Austin Avenue and get yourself a smoothie, it's really good. We also have soups and salads and things like that. So when I started Luna Juice, I thought that it was going to be this opportunity for me to create something that was for me. I was an addict and an alcoholic who was in recovery from addiction, and I needed a place to channel all of my energy, right? I needed something positive to do. And so I started Luna Juice. And I thought that's what Luna was for. I thought Luna was for me. And what I realized is that I could make a safe space for other people who were in recovery. And so slowly, my first few employees were not addicts or alcoholics. They were just other people, friends of mine in the community, or some people that went to Baylor that wanted to work at the farmer's market. But I hired my first addict. I hired the first person that was also a recovering addict. And I got to see the light bulb come on for her. We could come to work and talk about being in recovery. It was a safe place where there for sure was no drugs or alcohol. It was a healthy environment, both in the fact that we ate well at work and we drank juice, and also that we encouraged each other in our recovery. And seeing her come alive the way that she did inspired me so much that I started hiring mostly addicts and alcoholics. Today, we have 12 employees, and 10 of them are in recovery from drugs and alcohol. And so you don't have to be on probation to work at Luna Juice, but it helps if you are. Felony arrest, no big deal. Come work at Luna. So we get to encourage each other in that way, and it's been really cool. The girl that is our general manager is in recovery. She's been sober for over 2 years. She's worked at Luna Juice for 2 years now. She came to work for us when she had 4 months sober. She didn't have custody of her daughter. She didn't have a place to live. She could barely make eye contact with people, and now she's the general manager at Luna Juice. and she makes a living wage and is able to raise her daughter. She got custody of her daughter back, and she's now building a home. So these are the kind of stories that we get to see every day. And it's really neat. About 3.5 years ago, I realized that there was a gap in services for women in Waco. So a sober living house is a place where you go after you go to rehab. You go to 30-day rehab, and then you go to a sober living house afterwards so that you have a safe, stable place to go through early recovery. Well, there was 5 of them in Waco for men and 0 for women. And so what was happening is women were coming into the Waco community to get sober and find recovery, and then they'd have to move off. You know, they'd move off to Austin or to San Antonio or to Dallas, and then we'd never see or hear from them again. And quite selfishly, I wanted there to be more women in recovery in Waco. And so my husband and I at the time were renting a house, and our landlords bought the house right behind us. And so we asked our landlords if we could rent the house behind us to move in women who were early in recovery. You know, like, what a risky thing for him to say yes to, but he was totally on board. And so we opened what is now called Sunshine Recovery House. We moved 5 ladies in. We opened in July of 2016. We had 5 beds, and they filled up within 3 days. So we opened the doors to Sunshine Recovery House, and we immediately had women moving in. Now we have 2 houses. The house that we used to live in is now also a recovery house. So we have 9 ladies who live in our recovery houses, and we are constantly full and always have a wait list. So, and we just formed as a nonprofit organization and bought a huge house, a big pink house, downtown Waco, and that whenever that house is renovated, it'll hold 16 ladies. So that's been a really cool experience for me. It's a really, really cool way that I get to give back to the recovery community. I'm in recovery. I'm still in recovery. I'll always be in recovery. And so it's a way for me to connect with women who are new in recovery and doing cool things with their lives. And so we also get to hire women from the house too. That's something we started doing this year. And so now we're giving jobs to the ladies who move into Sunshine Recovery House. And so whenever we formed this nonprofit, we had to ask people for donations to buy the house, which was cool. Our community came around us, but I realized at some point that it's a lot harder to get donations for people who used to rob you, you know, because addicts and alcoholics do a lot of illegal stuff. I call it hood rat stuff, to get their drugs and alcohol. And so I wanted to create a business model for these ladies to earn their way, to earn their keep, and for us to be able to not have to ask for money in the community. And so we started a milkshake business. It's called Unshakable Milkshakes. They're milkshakes as big as your face. Literally, the toppings on the milkshakes are as big as the actual milkshake itself. Does anybody follow Unshakable Milkshakes on Instagram or Facebook? Thank you. The one lone person in the back is like, y'all go follow Unshakable. We're going to open October 31st at Union Hall. And it's what's called a social enterprise. So 100% of the profits go back to Sunshine Recovery House. So this morning, whenever I was talking to one of my employees, and I was like, I'm nervous to talk to people in junior high and high school, she reminded me that my story is not only about recovery, but it's also about starting businesses. So a lot of people don't do the thing that they're afraid the most of, and that I have done that in the last 6 years. And so I want to encourage you guys to walk forward in fear and to seek help if you need it. But also want to give you guys some time to ask questions. Somebody's got to be the first person. Okay, you. That is an awesome question. So the question is, was it hard to go from being a small business to making $500,000 in a year? Is that the question? Yeah, we fell flat on our face about 100 times. We had to figure out how to get watermelons from HEB to our food truck, and that was hard. We had to figure out staffing because we were constantly understaffed, and then when the winter would come and we didn't have watermelons anymore, we were all of a sudden overstaffed. Yeah, figuring out food costs and labor costs is all super hard when it happens that quickly, because it literally happened overnight. So yeah, it was real rough. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. Are you an entrepreneur? No, not yet. Not yet, but that's how entrepreneurs think. I like that. Anybody else? Yes.
How many people did you have at your food truck, and how many people do you have at your store now?
Oh, cool. That's a good question, too. So during the summer, we have 2 people at our food truck and then 3 on the weekends. Right now, we just have 1 person in the food truck because it's pretty slow during the winter. Our storefront we have a commissary kitchen. We have a commercial kitchen where we make all of our juices, and there's 5 people that work there and then 1 person that works up front. So 6 people at the storefront. Yeah, and then somebody that works the farmer's market and special events. Yeah, thank you. Who else? No personal questions? Yes.
Sorry, you said personal questions.
Yes, I love personal questions.
How is your relationship with your son right now?
Thanks for asking that. So, shortly after I got sober, I met with my son and made what's called an amends. It's where you go back and you say, I did these things wrong, but I want to make them right. And when I made an amends to him, he said, just stay sober. That's what I want you to do. And my son is my best friend. He's 21. We do all kinds of, part of the cool thing about being sober is that before I got sober, I was a slave to drugs and alcohol. I had to stay where I was at all times to make sure that I could get what I needed. And now I get to travel a lot. So my son and I go see, we went to see Snoop Dogg a couple of years ago in New Orleans. Yeah, we went to Las Vegas for his 21st birthday. And he's just my best friend. We go see a lot of concerts together, and I raised a pretty cool kid. I didn't have anything to do with that really, so thank you for asking. Anyone else? Yes.
How was your son affected as a growing up?
Yeah, so he was affected pretty deeply. It was it was a really hard road for him because there was a lot of times he was taking care of me. He'd have to remind me to cook dinner, or he'd have to go get food for himself. He has a little brother, so he had to take care of him a whole lot. He ended up moving out, he just called me one day and said, what's up, I'm moving out. I can't do this anymore because of waking up in the middle of the night, being loud or being drunk or whatever. So he learned to be really independent, which is good now, but sad for a kid that age, when your parents aren't around and you don't have anybody you can depend on. So he learned a lot of really tough lessons that I'm trying to make up for now. So by taking him to see Snoop Dogg, hey, yes,
You said you were 35 when you finally got sober.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think it was that last time? Over the years, you had tried
I have.
program.
Yes.
What do you think was different about that last time when you finally did?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's hard to quantify for people because when other people are getting sober, they want to know, what do I have to do that you did? And it was just at the end. I was really, really at the end. I knew I was either going to die or I was going to keep living the way that I was living. It was awful. Being homeless is no fun. Not knowing the people you're around is no fun. And so I didn't want to live that way anymore. I was willing to do anything, whatever it took to get sober. And I did. I did a lot of things that I didn't want to do and went to AA meetings and all of that stuff. So that was God working in my life. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What was your life before you started using?
Was my life normal? So I grew up in a really abusive household. My dad was super abusive, but my mom divorced him whenever I was 10, and I got my stepdad's cream of the crop. He's the coolest guy ever. And so I don't know that it ever got back to normal, but yeah, it was pretty out of control. It was a pretty hard childhood coming up, and then divorce is hard, and then remarriage, a new family is kind of hard too. So yeah, it's a good question. Thank you.